I want to talk about the epochs of humanity as I view them. I have often stated of late that we are entering the age of chaos and leaving behind the age of living death. I feel that I need to provide you with broader context on these labels as well as what preceded them. But bear in mind that these classifications, by their very nature, are sweeping and imperfect. They cannot fully capture the nuance and complexity of human history or the present moment. They are instead frameworks to help us reflect on the patterns and shifts that define our collective experience. The first and the longest epoch of humanity was the age of the hunt. This describes a period when we were hunter-gatherers living in small nomadic tribes that relied on the natural world for survival. It was an era defined by intimate connection with the environment, where life revolved around the rhythms of nature, the pursuit of game, the gathering of wild plants, and the constant movement in search of sustenance. This age was marked by a profound simplicity, yet it was also a time of immense ingenuity, as early humans developed tools and language and social structures that laid the foundation for all that followed. It was an epoch of raw survival, but it was also the first spark of creativity and cooperation that would eventually ignite the flames of civilization. Then came the second age of man, the age of the settlement. This epoch marks humanity's transition from nomadic wandering to rooted living, as the first permanent villages and towns were built alongside the dawn of agriculture. No longer were we bound by the needs of the migrating herds or the seasonal forage. Humans began to shape the land around them, building homes, granaries, and communal spaces that became the heart of early societies. The settlement was more than just a physical place. It was a place of human connection, where shared labor and shared resources and shared stories forged the bonds of community. Then came Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the Abrahamic religions of the monogod, and with them came the age of living death. This age contains most of written human history that we all know, most of us. In this age, the focus of life turned away from the immediacy of the present and towards the promise of an eternal hereafter. The material world, once seen as a source of wonder and connection, was often framed as more of a transient, fallen, illusory realm, a mere testing ground for the soul's ultimate destiny. This age was marked by a disconnection from humanity's own vitality. On one hand, the Abrahamic faiths brought moral frameworks and communal cohesion and artistic and intellectual achievements that shaped civilization, but on the other hand, they often encouraged a denial of the self, of the body, and the natural world in favor of spiritual transcendence, right? We got to get up there to God. That's the real purpose. Life itself became a kind of living death, as many people preferred their hopes, joys, and sense of purpose would be somewhere in a magical paradise after they were dead. The seeds of destruction for the age of living death were laid in the Enlightenment and in the Industrial Revolution. With those things came the modern notions of science and the economic system of capitalism. The scientific worldview began to erode notions of the monogod and of all gods and goddesses. Capitalism, meanwhile, brought people more into the realm of immediate material comfort, thus causing heaven to lose a lot of its luster. Yet, the forces of science and capitalism, in a strange way, were just another form of living death. For while science and capitalism dismantled the heavens built by faith, they constructed new altars of their own, demanding sacrifices of a different kind. Science, with its cold, luminous gaze, illuminated the cosmos, but stripped it of its mystique, reducing the infinite wonder of existence to equations and mechanisms, beautiful, yet bereft of spirit. It dissected life into its component parts, but in doing so often failed to capture the essence of what it means to live. Capitalism, meanwhile, replaced the ethereal promise of heaven with the immediate, tangible allure of wealth and consumption. The soul, once enslaved to the divine, now found itself bound to the relentless machine of production and profit. The natural rhythms of life were supplanted by the mechanical pulse of industry, and humanity's creative fire was harnessed to fuel an endless cycle of labor and accumulation. Thus, the age of living death endured, transformed yet unbroken. As people traded one illusion for another, the sacred became the secular, but the denial of life persisted, now manifest in the alienation of the worker, the commodification of nature, and the relentless march of progress that often left the human spirit trailing behind. Where once the soul yearned for paradise, now it yearned for possessions and status and the fleeting pleasures of a material world that seemed increasingly just hollow, miserable, artificial. But now the age of chaos is emerging. The spiritual thirst of humanity has been neglected for far too long, and people have begun to clamor for deeper meaning to their lives beyond serving the mono-god or the machine. This alone would not be enough to fling us into chaos. Humanity has suffered existential crises before in all the eras of life. But this one coincides with other events of great significance to humanity. Last week, there were 10 inches of snow on the ground in Louisiana, but it was in the 50s in Alaska. Before that, huge swaths of Los Angeles were burning to the ground. The temperature of the planet is rising, the oceans are acidifying, we are seeing the mass die-off of insects, we are seeing temperature records broken year after year, we are seeing ecosystems teeter on the brink of collapse, thanks to both capitalism and science, and the unholy intersection between the two of them. We are seeing the climate of our planet change into something that we don't recognize. The very laws of nature seem to be rewriting themselves in short order before our very eyes. We're also seeing the rise of the thinking machines in the form of generative AI. Already we've seen tremendous job loss from these technologies, and all indications are that it's going to get worse. AI threatens to render entire sectors of the workforce obsolete, not only displacing our jobs, but fundamentally altering the social fabric. The farmer, the factory worker, the office clerk, the graphic designer, no role is safe from the relentless efficiency of the algorithm. Boom, 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 boom. But the implications extend far beyond economics. In replacing human labor with machine intelligence, we are also stripping many people of their sense of purpose, their identity, because work, for better or worse in my opinion, has been the cornerstone of human life for millennia. It provides structure and community and imbues our days with a sense of contribution. As AI takes over, we're faced with a chilling question. What becomes of humanity when our primary function in the world is no longer necessary? Even more troubling is the rise of AI in creative fields. For centuries, the act of creation, whether in the form of painting or music or storytelling or invention, has been seen as the pinnacle of human expression. It is through creation that we make sense of the world, leave our mark on history, connect with one another on a deeper level. Now, however, AI can compose a symphony, write a novel, generate works of art with speed and precision that no human being could hope to match. I mean, I've spent the last 5 years of my life on and off working on my novel, Sexbot Uprising. Now, even if it turns out I've written a masterpiece, I can't get over the fact that if I fed the basic plot points of that book into an AI, it could write the entire book in minutes. Years versus minutes, folks. And let's not forget the ways that AI has altered the way we process information. Thanks to AI, we can no longer believe our own eyes. There was a time when if you saw a video of something happening, you could reasonably expect it was true, or at the very least that someone had spent a lot of time and money and resources in faking it. Now the technology is available for any sufficiently determined deceiver to create misinformation ad nauseum. And as a result, we've entered an age of post-truth, where virtually nothing is verifiable any longer. Think about where humanity is at right now. Think about the state of the human animal. We are faced with an unprecedented convergence of crises that threaten to unravel the fragile threads holding our civilization together. Climate change, technology disruption, misinformation, the deepening of a spiritual void. All these things are converging to create a perfect storm of instability, disillusionment, and uncertainty. Humanity is stumbling into an era where the foundations we once relied upon, truth and work and community, art, even the natural world, these things are all just disintegrating before our very eyes. At the heart of this chaos is a loss of trust in institutions, trust in one another, even trust in reality itself. When we cannot believe what we see, when every video, every image, every piece of information could be a carefully constructed lie, how can we navigate the world with any sense of certainty anymore? This erosion of truth leaves us unmoored, struggling to discern what is real and what is right and what's worth fighting for. Meanwhile, as AI accelerates the pace of change, it also amplifies the scale of human disconnection. The technologies that were supposed to bring us closer, social media, artificial intelligence, even the internet itself, have instead isolated us, replacing genuine human interaction with shallow digital facsimiles. I mean, the statistics show people are lonelier than ever, bombarded with curated feeds and algorithmic bubbles that reinforce division rather than foster any sort of understanding. We are a species wired for connection, yet we find ourselves more fragmented and alienated than at any other time in history. And yet, the age of chaos is not a dark age. It's a difficult age, yes. But let us remember what we're emerging from. For many generations now, human beings have languished in the misery of the age of living death, wasting their lives on hollow pursuits. Think about all the human beings who've been born LGBTQ, but never spent even 1 second of their lives as their authentic selves because it was prohibited by the stultifying social configurations of their time. Think of the countless people who sacrificed their dreams and their passions and their identities to fit into rigid molds imposed by society and religion or economics. The age of living death was one of stagnation, a period where the spirit was chained by fear, conformity, and the weight of inherited expectations. Humanity was trapped in a state of arrested potential, living not for today, but for some imagined salvation or some fleeting material gain. Now, in the age of chaos, those chains are breaking. And yes, the chaos is terrifying, but it feels as though the ground beneath us is crumbling. Right? Scary. But this chaos also carries within it a kind of liberation. The institutions that once dictated every aspect of life, what to believe, who to be, how to live, they're all losing their grip. The old order is dying. And while that death is painful, it's also necessary. For from this unraveling, a new way of being can emerge. In the tarot, there is a card called Death. In the most popular deck, the Rider-Waite, it depicts a skeletal figure riding on a white horse, carrying a black banner adorned with a white rose. Beneath the figure of death, there are people from all stations of life, kings, bishops, peasants, children. They're dead, representing the inescapable universality of death. But the card is not one of despair. It's about transformation. In the background, the sun rises between two towers, a symbol of renewal and rebirth. Death in tarot does not signify annihilation. It signifies the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. It is a reminder that from destruction comes creation. From endings come beginnings. And that life itself is a continuous process of change. So the age of chaos, like the death card, is not simply the end of the old, with the possibility of something new. The age of chaos will be a short age, relatively. It'll be a few generations. Failing the advent of immortality, I don't think any of us are going to see the end of it. We're going to see the beginning, we're going to see the dawn, but we're not going to know what it yields, which means that we have the power to allow it to shape us. And in doing so, we have the power to shape it. So this is an opportunity for us, an opportunity for the human animal. There's going to be three kinds of people in the age of chaos. There's going to be the children of chaos, the acolytes of order, and the inert masses. And the children of chaos will be the ones who embrace chaos, who thrive within it, who shape it, who find harmony within its uncertainty. They are the visionaries, the rebels, the creators of the new. They understand that chaos is not merely destruction, but transformation, a force that clears the old to make way for the new. I don't need to elaborate much on them, because if you're watching this video, it's very likely that you are a child of chaos. You may already feel the pull, that need to break free from the shackles of the past and to step boldly into the unknown. The acolytes of order will be those who cling desperately to the old ways. They will fight to restore the age of living death, because while it was stifling and miserable, it offered them a sense of structure, a sense of certainty. For them, chaos is terrifying because it threatens the illusion of stability that they once relied upon. These people will instinctively lash out at anything they perceive as chaotic. They're going to attack the LGBTQ community, they're going to attack secularism, and they're going to attack science even, because on some level they recognize that these forces have destabilized the world they once knew. Some of them might even turn against capitalism, seeing it as the engine that enabled the rise of chaos through its relentless pursuit of disruption and innovation. In their minds, they will hold an image of a bygone ideal, likely something from 1950s America, or at least from the advertising of 1950s America, and they'll seek to crush anything that doesn't really fit with that narrow vision. The inert masses, meanwhile, and this is going to be the majority, will be those who neither shape the chaos nor resist the chaos. They are going to be the ones who don't really actively participate in the grand struggle of the age. They simply endure them. They may lean towards chaos, they may lean towards order, but ultimately they're not going to fight for either one. Instead, they're just going to go along with whichever force seems dominant at the moment, adapting to survive without truly committing to the tides of change. They're not the drivers of history, they're the passengers of history, content to let other people determine the course of the world while they simply exist within it. But here's something you have to all remember, okay? Chaos and order at the end of the day are not opposing forces, okay? They're not this, they're this. Human beings might oppose one another under the guise of these words, but the concepts that these words represent are ultimately teammates. They work in tandem with one another. To a great extent, the boundaries between them are illusory. Scientifically speaking, in all chaos, there is order. This was discovered by Edward Lorenz, the father of chaos theory, who found that even the most seemingly random systems, like weather patterns, possess underlying structures and predictable behaviors. His work showed us that chaos is not the absence of order, but the complexity of it. The way small changes can ripple out and create patterns far larger than we can comprehend. The fractal is another perfect example. What at first glance seems like a chaotic jumble of jagged, erratic shapes reveals upon closer inspection a repeating and self-similar pattern, infinitely complex yet inherently structured. Really, chaos is just a higher order. It's an order that defies human understanding through its sheer complexity. And in the chaos of now, and in the chaos that is to come, we have to remember that. We have to remember that in serving chaos, we serve order. In serving order, we serve chaos. So really, the delineations of this new age are to an extent sort of an illusion. We all serve chaos, we all serve order, but the true distinction emerges when you contemplate the nature of the order that we all serve. See, the children of chaos will strive for a new order, for progression. The acolytes of order will strive to return to an older order, so for regression. And victory is not assured for either side. It may be that we will emerge from the order of chaos into a second age of living death, where humanity and its vitality are once again just completely discarded or sacrificed on some sort of empty altar. Or it may be that what emerges from the age of chaos is a world that no human being alive today has ever even envisioned. Perhaps a paradise, perhaps a dystopia, more likely something that is better in some ways and worse in others. But at least something new. For those of us entering the age of chaos now, the most important trait that we can cultivate is adaptability. If there is no truth, then we must view that not as an instability that robs us of unifying narratives, but as a freedom to create our own narratives without restraint. If the planet is changing into something less hospitable to us, then we have to view that not as a threat, but as a challenge. If the systems and structures that we once relied upon are crumbling, then we have to see that not as a loss, but as an opportunity, a clearing of the old to make way for something new. I believe that we must reconnect with our humanity, with our ingenuity, with our passions. My heart is not broken when I see things that other people view as tragedies, when I see something like a 9/11 or a mass shooting or even a war. Now, don't get me wrong, those things sadden me, sure, but they don't break my heart. What breaks my heart is seeing human beings turn away from themselves for the sake of the machine. To see someone with the heart of a warrior who is waiting tables. To see someone with the soul of an artist who's bogged down in some sort of menial labor. To see someone who has a brilliant mind, who is squandering their brain power on developing distraction apps or helping rich people discover tax loopholes. That, to me, is the real tragedy of this world. Human potential squandered, human passion subverted, human emotion suppressed. And it's the primary driver of my being that we see the end of this tragedy that unfolds endlessly before us every single day in our present paradigm. And I think we have the opportunity to accomplish that goal in the age of chaos, whether that dawns in earnest 100 years from now or tomorrow, or in fact, if it has already dawned and we're just catching up, which I think is the case, by the way. Anyway, I think I've said enough for today. I love you all. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it gave you some food for thought. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Peace. By the way, because a lot of my subscribers are from the days of yore, a lot of the people who are currently subscribed to this channel have not pressed that little alert bell because it didn't even exist when they first subscribed. So if you find that you are subscribed but have not hit the alert bell, please do so. It really helps out with the algorithm. And if you have not subscribed, please do that and still hit the alert bell, because I guess that alert bell is really important, so thank you so kindly.